class selection information for Haley. This is yours too. I think you guys got your class selection information for next year. Is that right? So I just want to take a minute and talk about the options for you guys that are current juniors, or if you prefer to be called rising seniors, that's okay. If you're a current senior, then you're not taking classes at Notre Dame, so you can space out for 5 minutes or whatever. So the courses that are options, so there's the Honors Discrete Math class. This is offered only in even years. The prereq there is B or better in both semesters of Honors Algebra 2. Probably not really a prereq option for most of us, is that we didn't take Honors Algebra 2 and get B's in it, hence ending up in this course. But if you're interested in hearing about that course more, I can give you the skinny on it. Another option is Math Applications and Personal Finance. That's a 1 semester course each. There is no prereq for this course. Real talk, this is probably like the most practical math course that we offer at Notre Dame, because we actually do things that you'll have to do as an adult, like talk about how to do taxes or make budgets or finance an automobile or things like this, that like every adult probably has to do these things at some point. So like particularly in the personal finance one, and then from a difficulty or complexity standpoint, this is probably your easiest math class option. AP Calculus, but the prereq there is B plus or better in honors trig and pre-calc. We are in regular, so that's not an option. The other one would be the IB Math SL course. So you'd need an A minus or better in your trig and pre-calc course as the prereq for that. This course, I would say about 50% of it is probably statistic-ish. And then the other 50% is kind of a grab bag of a variety of topics. Now, none of the things in this course are like incredibly difficult, probably no more difficult than the things we did first semester of this course, but there's a lot of stuff and it moves fast. Just real talk. So probably for most of us, the option is between this SL math course or the personal finance and math apps. And I think some of you guys that are IB students are probably required to be in the SL course. Aaron?
Is it possible to take the SL course if I got a B last semester? Because like I'm just straight up like not gonna have enough room on my schedule to take a math class if I can't take that one because of IB.
You're already required to be in that one for my IB?
I don't know if I'm required to be in it, but like I don't think I'm gonna have room for a fourth.
You're a diploma program student?
Yeah, if I don't get that.
Yeah, so I think that's a different case. If you're a diploma program student, you have to have an IB math class. You may be in a slightly different position than someone that's taking it as an elective course. Ariana?
Well, then let us take IB math and personal finance together.
Yeah, I think that's something that's been done in the past. Again, that's maybe a more of a Miss Garcia, the department chair question. But again, if you're a diploma program student, I don't think you have an option about that. I think you are taking this class regardless. Yeah. So again, if you have specific questions about things, or if you just have a general like, hey, what do you think I should do? Or like, is this going to be okay for me or whatever kind of question, feel free to talk to Mr. Kulik at kind of any point is fine. If you want to do it now, like we just took a couple of questions now, that's okay. If you want to just wait and see as you're filling out your schedule and it actually gets a chance to like register for classes and you want to come back and circle back to it, that's fine too. No big deal. But these are really the 4 options as a senior, and the state of Michigan does have as a graduation requirement as a senior, you do have to take a math class as a senior, even if you've had 4 math credits at the end of your junior year somehow. So as a graduation requirement, you do have to take a math class your senior year. Okay. And this information that I collected here is in the content library, titled Class Selection, if you ever want to go back and look at it, if that helps you at all. So it's all in one place for you. You don't have to hunt around for it on the internet or something. Okay. Cool. So today we had finished the content, the lectures for Chapter 12. We'll talk a little bit about the test format. Again, the test wouldn't be, we get back from break on Monday. We'll probably start the next chapter on Monday and then take the test on Wednesday, because I just think it's kind of a bad idea to walk back from break and then hand you a test as soon as you walk in the building. That feels kind of like a crummy deal. So we'll do that. We'll start the next section or the next chapter on Monday and then take the test the next class. So the test format here is as followed. I have one question where I ask you to make 2 different regression models and then decide which one is better and use the better one to make a prediction. How would we tell the difference, telling which one is better? If you have 2 regression models? I wouldn't say the points. I think there's an easier tool than even that.
The line of best fit.
So remember when we had these different... Grace, did you know it? Yeah, so you'd use the R² value and pick the one that's closer to 1. Mm-hmm. Yep, so we talked about that yesterday. So you should be able to identify the degree and leading coefficient of polynomials. That's just like a definition thing, like we did in the very first section. You should be able to write a linear function like we did on the homework problems 5 and 6. So I think, Joe, you asked about that in class yesterday. So you should be able to do that. You should be able to make a power model from a data set and then use it to make a prediction. So again, that's just like we did in our example yesterday. Let's look at yesterday's example, right at the end here. Right? So just kind of the same old, same old. Everybody's okay still with what I'm describing? You should be able to look at scatter plots and decide which model is the best. So again, yesterday we drew some scatter plots and talked about which one, which model you'd want to use for that shape. You guys remember that? Oops, wrong one. And then you should be able to give some reasons why a prediction might be unreliable. And I think we talked about that a lot on the 11th, right? Does anybody remember some of those reasons why a prediction might be unreliable? I think we talked about 3 things. Aaron?
Well, I mean, you can never perfectly accurately predict the future. Something really weird could happen. If you had a model for economic growth in February of 2020, you could not predict March 2020 because COVID happened. You know what I mean?
So what Aaron's saying is extrapolation. So if you're trying to predict outside of the range of measurements that you've taken, that tends to be potentially unreliable, right? So you're talking about using you have measurements from February and you're trying to use those to predict something in March. Sure, that's called extrapolation. Yeah. We talked about that. What's another reason?
Interpolation.
Well, interpolation was okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that type of prediction was typically reliable because you have data before and after that, so you know that whatever pattern you're observing should continue or should be valid for that little section that you're looking at. What happens if you just pick a crummy model? Right? Like if you have an R value of like 0.45 and you're using a linear model, are you going to get a good prediction out of that? No, right? Your model is inappropriate to the data. That would give you a bad prediction. And then what's another one? The last one's kind of the trickiest one. The last one would just be bad data. Like you're using data to predict something that it just legitimately, there's a problem with it. I think when we did this on the 11th, we looked at this using these adolescent heights to predict how tall you're going to be when you're 20, and we got some bonkers number, like you'd be 7.5 feet tall or something. And the reason here is that the rate of growth happening at adolescence is much, much faster than post-adolescence. So like you're getting like the steepest part of your growth curve and using that to predict the future with. Basically, you're using bad measurements. You know what I mean there, guys? Okay, so those are, again, some examples of the things that we talked about in class already. So there's that. Everybody feel reasonably clear about what I mean by the things that we've listed there? Okay, because I don't have a review pack for this chapter. So that's why we're spending a little bit more time and being a little bit clearer about what these things mean. I would still offer you guys the option to make a half sheet of paper to use for your test. Probably want to put the calculator stuff on there at minimum, since it'll be a couple, probably a week or so since you've touched the calculator when it comes test time, remembering how to like put the data in and get your scatter plot and get your regressions and do all that jazz. Some of us remember that stuff a little bit better than others, but that seems like a good thing to put on there at minimum. Joe?
Before we take the homework quiz, can we go over the calculator one time?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Do you want to look at one of the problems from the homework?
Sure. I think we did 22 together. Should we just do 21 then?
Sure, we can do 21.
We did one of them. I don't know which one, but.
Yeah, I think it was 11 or something before that, but 21 is fine. It says the following table lists the body weight of a mammal and its pulse rate. Create a power regression model for the data and use it to predict the pulse of a cow that weighs 612 kilograms. So I'm going to start by entering this data into my calculator. To enter data in my calculator, I'm going to press the Stat button. From the Edit tab, I'm going to select the Edit command. And now I already have some data in my calculator. Probably most of us also have some data already in our calculator. So I'm going to clear that data out. To do that, I'm going to move my cursor up to the title L1, press the clear button, not the delete button, and then the down arrow. And I'll do the same thing then for L2. And then I'm going to just type in my data, or start typing in my data anyways. Notice that the heaviest animal that I have in here weighs 50 kilograms. And we're going to be asking about a 612 kilogram animal. So what type of prediction are we doing?
Extrapolation.
Yeah, extrapolation. Are we going to be feel pretty good about that prediction? Possibly not, right? Okay. It doesn't guarantee that it'll be a bad prediction, but it could be a bad one. Okay, so I got all my data in. So we'll exit out of here. And now to get I'm not going to bother with creating a scatter plot because the question tells me that I want a power regression. So I'm just going to do the power regression. I'm not going to create the scatter plot. Is everybody okay with that? Since I know what I'm doing, I don't need to really look at the picture. So I'm just going to press the Stat button again. but this time I'm going to go over to the Calc tab. And from this list, I'm going to scroll down until I find the Power Reg option. PWR is short for power. So I'm going to select that one. If I think about this situation, it certainly seems that what's being implied is that the weight of the animal should affect the pulse rate. Does everybody agree with that? That that's kind of the natural, that the independent variable is the weight and the dependent variable is the pulse. So the weight should be my x variable. I type the weights into L1. And the pulse should be my y variable. I type the pulse into Y2 or L2.
The independent?
Yeah, the x is the independent variable. In general, I think if you noticed, all these tables were always written x, y for you. But it's one of those things like we should at least give some lip service as to like taking a moment to think about like which one depends on which, right? Since we are asked to make a prediction, I am going to store this regression equation. So I'm going to store this into the y1 place. So where it says SOAR reg EQ, I want there to be a y1 there. To get that, I'm going to press vars. I'm going to go over to the y vars. From the function option, I'm going to select y1. And then hit calculate. So this gives me my regression equation. So I'd say y equals 241.31 or 0.339 yada 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 x, and then my exponent would be negative 0.3233 yada yada yada. Everybody's okay with that? If I look at the fit, my r squared value is quite good, right? 0.98 is pretty good. Everybody's okay with that? All right. So this is what I would have written down for the regression, was the y equals ax to the b with the a and the b numbers filled in. Everybody's good with that? To do the prediction then, what I'm going to do is y1 of 612. So I'm going to go back to the vars button, over to y vars. From the function option, I'm going to select y1. And then like a function notation, I'm going to do y1 of 612 and press enter. So based on our model, that 612 kilogram cow's pulse rate would be about 30 beats per minute. I don't know anything about cows, but that doesn't seem unreasonable. Big animals tend to have much lower pulse rates. Like elephants have like 12 beats per minute or something bonkers like that. But they're also pregnant for like 2.5 years or something. Like, it takes a long time to gestate for an elephant. That's also kind of weird. This is your fun elephant facts.
Are they actually pregnant for like 2 years?
It's like 18 months or something. It's almost 2 years, I think.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I think it would be tough for mama elephant. Let's see.
That makes sense though, because they're huge.
$22 months is what the internet says.
Why?
Yeah, it's almost 2 years. Woof, right? Be glad, ladies, be glad you're not an elephant, right? All right. Do you guys feel okay about after reviewing the calculator?
Hopefully, yeah.
And again, like what we did here is the same steps you do, except if for a linear regression or a quadratic regression or a whatever regression, the only difference is like when you, in that stat calc menu, you pick the different regression, right?
So for LinReg, if it was the other one, right?
Correct, yeah. I think LinReg is the fourth one.
Yeah.
Yep. But they're all right there, so whatever the instruction says. Okay. All right. So the plan here for today, we'll do the homework quiz now, and then when you finish, you can work on your half sheet. You can turn, if you want one anyways, you can turn that in today, and I'll hold on to it till test time. And if after you finish that, you can just worry about finishing up your problem set. The due date for that problem set, I'm going to make. What did I do? I think I decided to do like. Let me double check this before I say the wrong thing.
It says 220 on the board.
Yeah, what did I do on here? Okay, so what I decided to do was just 1 through 12 will be due this Sunday. And then the 13 to 31 will be due next Sunday. Just to encourage you to do a little bit of something over the break so that when you come back, you're not like looking at math for the first time in a week, maybe. Not that you couldn't finish all of through 31 early, but doesn't seem like there's a need to rush to have that all done on Sunday. You know what I mean, guys? Okay. Everybody feel okay with those dates then? And that's on my Notre Dame. I just haven't updated the board yet. But I can do that while you guys do your homework quiz. Okay, dokie. All righty, you guys ready to hit it? That was a resounding yes, I heard.
Yes, sir.
Yay! Yeah, you want to come back and do it tomorrow or something? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Scary stuff. I mean, as long as you remember how to do the calculator stuff, I think you will be okay. You can. I would prefer to have it today. Really? Yeah. But like, we don't have anything to do after the homework quiz.
I have an 8 stuff. Yeah. Gotta study for that. Is that fine?
What?
Would it be like get it to you before the end of the day tomorrow?
I mean,
Yeah, that's if we don't finish.
That wouldn't be. That would be. Yeah, that would be. That's not don't forget, because I will. Bring it back. Absolutely. Do the same thing. Anyone else need a calculator? You can email it to me if we don't have school tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't go to school tomorrow.
You're welcome. Domenico? Okay.
Mr. Pollack, is the numerator or the denominator the bottom one?
The numerator's the top. I remember denominator's down because it starts with a
Ooh, that's a
D.
good way to remember it, yeah.
Hopefully you won't forget that then, right?